What's up, guys? Connor from Rock Pokémon here, coming at you with another Market Monday. So I've been trying to figure out how exactly I want to talk to you guys about this, but y'all know that I come from the finance industry, and the finance industry is a place where there have historically been a lot of scams, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of people selling a bill of goods that was just a complete pyramid scheme, or faking returns, or basically talking about performance or market opportunities in a way that made it seem like the sky was the limit and there was no risk. And when it comes to our hobby, especially in Pokemon, throughout the last year and a half, there's certainly been a lot of hype channels, a lot of misinformation, and I am just really at this point getting sick and tired of seeing people especially give investment advice in a way that's masking what they're really doing, which is trying to sell you things. So obviously you guys know, like I buy and sell all the time, slabs and sealed product and what have you. But I am getting really irked by seeing people put out content who have large we're talking 10,000 plus follower, YouTube channels, putting out content that under the guise of investment advice is pushing you to buy a product billed as a quote unquote good investment. And I want to specifically talk about modern sealed product with you guys today, and basically why everything you have been told is a lie. So there is this prevailing thought or thesis out there that modern sealed product cannot fall below MSRP over the long term. So that buying something today, like going out and buying battle styles, booster boxes, or ETBs as close as you can to MSRP, or even below that, like around distributor pricing, creates this like safe floor for you over the long term. And I've seen people literally say that if you buy this today, it has to go up. Well, conveniently, they're selling that to you on their website. All that to be said, there is no floor for modern sealed Pokemon prices, okay? We need to make that clear, and I really want people to stop kidding themselves, okay? There's an opportunity to flip modern sealed product. Of course there is. There's always an opportunity that something could go up in price. But let's think about it this way. On the one side, if you buy a booster box for $100 today and you hold it, and you shut your eyes and you wake up 5 years later and it's $120. Congratulations, you made $20. That annualizes at about 3.5% to 4% return a year, right? 20% over 5 years annualized. Then you factor in inflation, historical average since World War II, somewhere in that 2.5 to 3 range. May see it, higher in the near term, over the next, 1, 3, 5, 7 years, potentially, no one knows, but during an economic recovery and into an economic, hopefully boom over time, we can certainly see that inflation number run above those historical averages. So in real terms, you may have, gotten inflation. You might have gotten less than inflation and actually lost money. But on the other side, there is the risk that no one will want this product, okay? This is not a cash flowing investment. It has no inherent, value, right? there's certainly the playability aspect, right? Like people want these cards to be able to play, so they're willing to pay a certain, amount, even for a set that's not highly collectible or desired, because they can build a deck out of it, right? As long as it's still, within the game meta and able to be played. So it's amazing to me that people can still go out there today and tell you, hey, this has to go up. It has to go up. There's no way it couldn't go up. So you can conveniently buy it from me here for $85, $90, $95, $100. And don't worry, it has to go up. Just keep it sealed. Diamond hands, guys. Listen, there is nothing that stops modern sealed product from falling in price. Disinterest in the hobby, reprints, a lack of desire to collect the cards within that set. I mean, there are a ton of factors that can push these prices down, and people have to realize that when you look at this market as a whole, right, collectibles, like historically what collectibles have done has been a store of value, right? There have been acute periods or certain time periods where they've done exceptionally well. The past 5, 7, 10 years has been, very interesting for collectibles as it's become more and more accessible. But you still have to look at, all the risk factors, right? The illiquidity in these kinds of markets, the extremely inefficient nature of the markets, right? Where you could throw something up for auction, say, man, I'm gonna get such a good return on this, and there's 2 items ending at the same time, and your item gets half of what the other one gets. Like that just happens in these markets. It's totally different than, the stock market. It's not the same at all. It's highly inefficient in that regard, where you can have these huge disparities in pricing even at the same time. People don't think about the transaction costs, the shipping, and the selling fees you're gonna have to pay. And then they don't think about opportunity cost, right? Like, yes, you bought a box of sealed product that went from $100 to $120. How much of it did you buy? Did you just buy one box? You made $20 when your downside risk there could have been, it basically goes to zero. I mean, it's hard for me to, believe. It's not hard for me to believe that this stuff is still out there, but I really hope that by, making you guys think more critically about this, it can help you from making bad purchasing decisions, right? In my view, modern is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be opened. There is certainly the ability to create a business around it, right? There's nothing wrong with getting a distributor license or buying product, through some network at a rational, reasonable distributor pricing, or even around MSRP, and then selling that into the market. Let's say you bought 100 boxes, you make a couple bucks in margin after fees and taxes and everything and shipping on each box, and that's a nice little business if you can rinse and repeat that over and over and over again. But having that business and then pushing content under the guise of financial advice when you're really just shilling the products that you're selling is inexcusable in this hobby. We don't need it. It's the last thing we need for long-term health in this hobby, because people are going to continue to get burned and disappointed if they are sold this bill of goods by these big content creators. So guys, look, I'm no expert. I'm just a guy who loves Pokemon and loves finance, and luckily has no reason to tell you anything but the truth, because 1, I have nothing to lose here. 2, I do not need anything in Pokemon to sustain me financially, right? Everything I own could go to zero and I will be just fine, and that is a huge blessing to me. But I'm also not creating like a large scale business around this and then telling you guys, hey, buy this stuff that, I happen to have like 100 cases of in the corner over there. So that's not how this works. I just love this hobby and have the opportunity to share some financial knowledge with you, which is cool. So, when we look at this market, guys, I think the biggest thing you need to understand is that we have recently gone through a black swan event, a 3+ standard deviation statistical anomaly in the market, where we had the perfect storm of events happening. We had the pandemic, we had Logan Paul, we had all these things that have really accelerated the price returns on a lot of items in this hobby. And the important thing to know is that trees don't grow to the sky. Okay, so even if we hit something healthy around a 3, 4, 5, 6% return annualized in this hobby, broadly speaking, right, that the whole entire market does that over time. One, that doesn't mean after inflation you're going to have made money. Two, it doesn't mean the specific items that you will have purchased, especially if it's something like modern sealed, for example, is going to have appreciated the same rate as the broad market. And another note on that is that we'll see a lot of these like comparisons to the stock market and collectibles, and or the market's done X% in collectibles over this time period. You have to remember that a lot of that's based on like the highest end of the market, and that's a very different thing than you buying a $100 booster box or a $50 slab, right? So you have to think about the amount of capital you would have to put at risk to make a meaningful dollar amount, even if in percentage terms you end up doing okay, right? So look, I know maybe today seemed a little disjointed, or this discussion seemed a little all over the place, but I saw some content this week that really irked me, because it really just makes me frustrated that people can continue to basically shill their inventory under the guise of giving financial advice. It's inexcusable. It does not belong in this hobby. And the fact that people can say that modern Pokemon has to go up, and that you can buy this booster box at $90 or $100, and in 3 to 5 years it has to go up, is a complete and utter fallacy. It has absolutely no factual basis. Largely, people are, if they have that belief, they probably only basically are cherry picking from the 2016 to now 5-year period, where you had literally the biggest black swan event in market history. They don't understand the history of collectibles. They don't understand that Pokemon is only 25 years old and an incredibly nascent hobby. And at the end of the day, even if they do understand all that, they are just straight up lying to you because they are trying to make money off of you. So where does that leave us? I want you to understand that the likelihood of you making a ton of money in Pokemon is slim to none. Especially if you didn't own anything a year and a half ago before this giant boom, right? Now you can certainly make money, in a business sense, right? Buying something, flipping it, in the next month, 2 months, 3 months for, maybe a double, maybe a 1.5x. That's totally reasonable. It could happen, but understand the downside risk, right? Understand that a buy and hold strategy on a modern trading card game product has downside risk to zero. It can easily go to zero. The IP could fall out of favor. The specific set could fall out of favor. There are tons of risks in this hobby. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure you guys just remember, collect what you love. Because if you collect what you love and you make reasonable buying decisions, at least you'll be stuck with something you love that's worth 0. It's Connor from Rock Pokemon. Keep it real.